Understand? Got it? All right. Gotta tighten my chair. Got a couple more seconds, and we're gonna go ahead and get this party started. All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is me, Dr. Thomas-Rodgers. I am the turnaround doctor, and I am here to teach you how to use your amazing brain so that you can apply it to personal accountability. You can become your best. On your own, go ahead and inhale and exhale 3 times just to quiet the mind and let it know we are getting ready to learn some things and do some things. Feels good to be able to breathe in and out because it is allergy season here in Las Vegas. All right, if you are new to this live, excuse me. If you are new to this live or you're watching on the replay, go ahead and gather some note-taking materials digitally or physically, as well as a second device so that you can do the cognitive fitness activities, which will require you to be on the website and then to do some reading as well. Today's topic is how to take risk. We are under the realistic section of the Real Leader Principles, and today we're talking about how to take risk. I'm going to talk about the difference between risky and taking risk, and then give you some steps on how to take risk and the importance of that. We will do some neural activities, follow up from yesterday, and then go ahead and talk about what we learned and get on out of here for today. So how to take risks. Got it. Want to just give you some upfront information so that you understand what's taking place. What we're doing is creating, creating neurogenesis. And neurogenesis is basically just creating new neurons. Scientists used to believe that we couldn't do that, and now we can. So that's awesome. And how you do that is, number one, you're going to be challenging yourself. You're going to learn new skills, and then you need to be in an environment that is enriched. Neurogenesis cannot happen if you are stressed, if you are in fear, or if you are in a toxic environment. It's not going to work. Just think about if you're trying to grow something and you have bad manure, you have a bad environment, try to grow an orchid in the middle of the city in the concrete, the chances of its survival is minuscule. And so that's the same thing with new neurons. You want to put it in an environment that is enriched, that's nurturing, that's developing, so that it can create a neural pathway and will have the process called neuroplasticity. And neuroplasticity is the brain's physical ability to rewire itself to create and make new neural pathways. So you put neurogenesis and neuroplasticity together, and what you get is neuropability. And that is wiring the brain so that you can learn how to hold yourself personally accountable using the 74 principles of real leadership so that you can become your best and you can create unlimited neural pathways. Got it? Good. So let's talk about risky and risk. So I want to tell you the definition of my definition from a personal accountability perspective. Risky is when you are going to do something that's going to cause harm to yourself and to others. That's risky. That's not the same as taking a risk. Now, taking a risk is you are attacking fear so that fear will not hijack your amygdala and it will not stop you from becoming your best. Okay. So risky is I'm going to go and jump out of a helicopter and I might have a parachute or I might not. I'm going to go and tie one on and get nice and drunk, and then I'm going to go and drive, and whatever happens, happens. That's risky behavior. Risk behavior, when you are just taking a risk, it could be something as simple as going to your favorite restaurant and ordering something different. That's not going to impact anybody but you. As long as you don't participate in food allergies, if you always get chicken, get the beef. And all you're doing is you are giving yourself permission to change and grow and develop. So taking risk is not the same as being in including yourself in risky behavior. So if you want to be risky, this is not the live for you. I am not telling you to go and do something risky. What I am saying is, in order for you to grow, you need to take risk, because what risks do is it challenges yourself, and it also gives you the ability to increase your working memory, learn something, and then it also, so the example that I have been using since 2014, so let's say you have a bunch of fear up here and you are risk averse, which means you don't take risk at all. The more risk you take, you change the pendulum. you change the, give me 1 second. The more risk that you take, you change it. So you become a risk advocate instead of risk adverse. That's what takes place. Okay. All right. So for some reason, we have some people here that don't belong. And so if I stop and move towards my phone, I am removing the unaccountable people who are looking for a dopamine boost this morning because they are bored in their lives. And so instead of them actually listening to me and creating an oxytocin moment so they can get some natural dopamine, they are here to act like imbeciles because that's what unaccountable people do. So if I stop in the middle of my sentence, I will be, good morning, Regina. I will be removing them. I will not be addressing unaccountable people at all today. Absolutely have zero tolerance for them. This is not happening today. So if you came over here to fuck around, you will find out and you will be kicked out immediately. So the difference again is if you have a lot of fear and you are risk adverse, the more risk you take, the less fear you take in. That is the importance of taking risks. And it also allows you to be able to grow continually. And so the things that used to make you afraid don't make you afraid anymore. Because as soon as you feel fear and you enact on the fear, your amygdala gets hijacked, you shut down the access to your frontal lobe, all your logic, all your reason, and everything else goes out the window. And now you're just looking for safety. You're doing a fight, flight, freeze, or appease. And the last thing you're doing is actually growing. Now, what also happens is, so when you get ready to take a risk, the amygdala is going to say, hold up, wait a minute. Is this safe? And what can happen is that the amygdala can give you a false positive because you may say, oh, I got to go give this speech. And this is the first time that I'm giving a speech, so I'm nervous. So the amygdala is like everything, you start sweating and it's like, oh my God, you got to give a speech. You got to give a speech. Don't do it. Don't do it. That's a false positive. So what happens is you have to ask yourself, is this a real fear? And the example that we use over here is a saber-toothed tiger coming after me? So if a saber-toothed tiger is not coming after you and there isn't an actual imminent threat for you to seek safety, then you tell the brain, that's a false positive. This is not real. This is a growth opportunity for me. So I'm going to go give this speech. Good morning. I'm going to go give this speech and we're going to be all right. So that's what happens. Now, the amygdala is there for you to say, you have drank entirely too much. Call an Uber, call a friend, call a Lyft, sit your butt down somewhere and take a nap. Do not get behind that wheel. That's risky behavior, and you need to listen to the amygdala, okay? So that is the difference. You can, when you start, good morning, Lola, when you get ready to take a risk, it's going to go, hold up, wait, what you doing? Hold up, what's happening? But if you are stuck in your comfort zone, the amygdala is going to say, wait a minute, what you doing? No, we comfortable. Why would you go do something like that? Why would you upset the apple cart? No, we good over here. Absolutely not, because that's how you get stuck in a rut. And if you don't take risk and you don't learn new things, by the time you're 35, your working memory is going to start to not work. It's going to start atrophying. And by the time you're 65, nothing that you have, you're going to be walking around looking like a doggone analog clock in the digital world. So that's the other reason why you take risk. So one of the risks that I took, and I'm going to get to how to take risks, is I couldn't read. And it took me a long time to teach myself how to read. I was a junior in college before I could really read and have reading comprehension. And now I'm in my 11th year of the book challenge. And I'm reading books that 20 years ago, I would have never, ever, ever been able to read simply because my comprehension wasn't at that level. So I took a risk in November of 2014. Started reading a book a week, and now there are books that used to take me 3 weeks to read. I can read in a week. Some books I can finish in a day. Who Moved My Cheese? I'm done with it. Anything under 100 pages, I'm finished. I can knock that out, no problem. So what happens is when you take risks, all those things that you were afraid to do, if you were afraid to post on social media, if you were afraid to start a business, if you were afraid of public speaking, if you were afraid to learn a language because when you were in high school, you failed French, all of those things will stop you from becoming your best. If you have all of this negative self-talk because of unaccountable people, and now that's in there too. And if somebody, my sister used to tell me all the time, that ain't shit, that ain't shit, that ain't shit. So I had to work through all of that because she was just saying that because it was a self-reflection of her own self and her own inadequacies. So when you take risk, you get rid of all of that fear. And now you're not walking around with a hijacked amygdala. You're actually operating in your frontal lobe. You're actually in the executive function of your brain, where that's the CEO of the brain, and it's leading you and guiding you in the directions that you need to travel. So how do you take a risk? Number one, you're going to start small. You're going to start small. No, you are not going to go run for public office and you have never even given a public speech in your life. That's not that's not what you're going to do. So if you always do the same thing every single day, let's say you wake up at 5 a.m. every day, you're just going to wake up at 4:45. You're just going to take a risk and wake up early. If you have the same thing for breakfast, and unlike me, I got to eat oatmeal so I can keep my cholesterol down. But if you wake up and you go to your favorite coffee shop and you get the same drink every day, you're going to order something different. If you get a breve, you're just going to get a latte. If you get a latte, you're going to get a cappuccino. If you get a cappuccino or you just get coffee, Americano, if you're in America, you're going to drink it black. You're just going to take a risk. You're going to order, if you always order a croissant, you're going to get a bagel. If you always say, I just want a bagel with cream cheese and I get a plain bagel with plain cream cheese, you're going to get a blueberry bagel with some strawberry cream cheese and cut in half. So you're going to start with something small starting today. And then after that, you're going to take a risk daily. Every day from this day forward. A risk a day keeps the fear away. So it's going to be something small. So you might have a blouse, a shirt, a jacket, or something that you always save for a special occasion. Put that bad boy on today. And I don't care if you got on the evening gown walking through the grocery store. You're in Publix, Albertsons, Smith's, and you look like you're about to go to a formal event. Go ahead and throw that bad boy on. Take a risk and see what happens. Take a risk and see what happens. Make it small. Something that's big enough that gives you a little bit of heart palpitations, but not too big where you might be in a fetal position in a corner having a panic attack. Somewhere in the middle. But you're going to start small and then you're going to do a small risk every day. Number 2, do it daily. Number 3, you're going to increase the level of the risk that you're taking right before you get comfortable. So Nola, she should be here by now. If she will tell you, as soon as it seems like she's about to get comfortable, I pour a little bam on it. Okay, now you need to do this. Now you need to do that. Why? Because if you take risks and you allow yourself to get comfortable, the comfort is going to outweigh anything else because the amygdala is going to say, we good. We're not trying to go and seek something that's unsafe and unfamiliar to us. We like how it is. Every now and then we'll get a little dopamine boost, some manufactured dopamine, and we're going to go right back to our comfort zone. So as soon as it feels like you're getting accustomed to this, it's time to take a bigger risk. So now you wore your evening gown, you drank coffee that was different. And now you've been thinking about having a difficult conversation with someone. You're going to go have that conversation. No, I am nowhere near comfortable and it changes. Thank you for that confirmation. And I make sure that she made the mistake one time as a child and told me she was bored. Never again. Oh, you're bored, sweetie. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. You said, I got just the thing for you. And she's not been bored. There's never been a dull moment. She's never been like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Hasn't happened. Yes, she used to have to read a book a day before she went to school in 4th and 5th grade because they weren't giving her enough homework, in my opinion. So school didn't start till 9. She had to wake up and finish the book and then go take a quiz, team business. I forgot the name of the test, AR test on the book. And then every week she went to the library and got 5 books and had to finish those 5 books. She basically obliterated the library section in her elementary school. So take a risk. Take a risk. If you have not read a book in Lord knows when, then you're going to read a book. You're going to do 15 minutes or more every day. I say never read a book. If you haven't read a book in a long time, go ahead and get a book that's 200 pages or less. I say by starting with Who Moved My Cheese, is 97 pages. And you just take the number of pages that you have for the book, divide it by 7, and read those pages for the day. If you end up with 30 or 40 pages a day, you really should end up with about 28 if the book is 200 pages. And then you can break it up with your meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, or you can read in the morning, you can read in the evening, and then to say, I'm going to read a book a week too. Those type of things. So a risk that's going to help your growth and development. So if you don't know how to cook, you could take a risk today, go on Pinterest, go on TikTok, YouTube, somewhere, and get a recipe and make something. Now, don't try to go making no doggone souffles or nothing like that. You might need to just work with a chicken tossed salad, okay? Tuna fish or something. But take a risk and you're going to learn a skill. So the risk needs to be attacking something that used to attack you. So like me, I used to be afraid of the dark, water, and heights. So you're working towards attacking the fears that's stopping you, or you're taking a risk that will give you a new skill set. So in my case, literally started reading so that I could get my comprehension up. And again, the orthographic processing system in the brain, where you start learning language and letters, I inherited a defect from my mother. So I still to this day, even with 3 degrees, struggle with spelling and also with grammatical errors, because it's all the way down there. And I write posts. There are videos with me not having the right in Spanish, saying it incorrectly. My book has errors in it on purpose, but I'm so much better than I used to be. And every time I still have to check, make sure I spell this word right. If it goes up and the word hasn't been spelled right, it's not going to stop me, because I knew where I came from. My reading comprehension when I was in 5th grade was at a 3rd grade reading level, and I was doing 8th grade math. So it has been that way. That's how my brain is wired. But I wired new neural pathways so that I could even be able to read most of this stuff about neuroplasticity and neurogenesis. I wouldn't have been able to comprehend this 15 years ago. Absolutely not. So the risk that you're taking is either attacking a fear that you have, or it's a skill that you actually need. And I was just talking to my daughter about this the other day, because she's been in business for 4 years now. And yesterday was a simple day for us. Had a 7th Avenue couch, had a curtain rod that needed to be mounted 108 inches up in the air. And then we had a 6-drawer dresser and to mount 3 pictures. So cakewalk day for us. 2 years ago, definitely would have took us out. I don't even know if we'd been able to do the 7th Avenue couch 2 years ago, but she's got new DeWalt drill bits that are smaller, and it makes everything much more efficient. But how she got to this point, over 2,100 projects completed, so that's thousands of pieces of furniture, thousands of screws, is from taking risk. Taking daily risks, taking on things that once she mastered something, it's time for a new risk to be taken. So again, you're taking risks to attack fears. And the other thing is, there's 2 types of fears. There's your actual fears that you actually have, and then fears that you inherited. People gave them to you. So you got to check first to see if this is my fear, or is this some manufactured fear that came from outside? Because if it did, you could say, oh, those are my fears. Those are your fears. I'm only in control of the fears that actually impact me neurologically, not some shit that y'all tried to pass down to me. And my aunt used to say, we're poor. We're poor. I'm like, nah, y'all poor. I ain't taking that on. I'm like, well, don't go past 15 Mile and Lashley, because that's where the rich white folks live. You can't go up there. Where is it at? Okay, I'm going. Is it that way? Okay, cool. That's where I'm going. That's y'all fear. I have nothing to do with that at all. That's not for me at all. I'm leaving. Though you got to be enlisted, because we gonna be an officer. You can do. I'm gonna be an officer. Y'all the ones that's too scared to do that. Don't go into management, because you got to deal with people now. I'm about to go in management. Thank you. I'm gonna be a leader and all of these things that y'all are saying don't do. These generational curses and all that. Fuck all that. Okay. Don't pass Uncle Jerry. Pass Uncle Jerry. That doesn't apply to me. So it has to be your actual fear. I'm the one who had fear of deep waters, because my sister tried to drown me. The dark and heights, all those are mine. So I'll go to the Army and I rectify that. The rest of that was not my fear. And then the other one is skill development. So you start small, number 1. Number 2, you do it daily. Number 3, you increase it right before you get comfortable doing it. And I'm saying comfortable on purpose, because comfort is the slippery road to the sticky road to rutness. So now you just stuck there, comfort in your comfort zone with your stuckmily, and you're like, The biggest mistake that people make is for them to tell you to get a niche. Get a niche and become an expert in this one little small thing. And so what you have is people saying, I've been doing this for 20 years. I've been doing this for 30 years. You know how many thousands and thousands of days? At most, it takes you 10 years to master something. At most, it takes you 10 years. So when you're saying you've been doing this exact thing, what you're saying is, I got a stuck ass working memory and I ain't learned nothing new. Because once you master it, you master it. I know how to cook, so I know how to cook. I don't have to keep cooking at that same level when I was 13, 14, 20 cooking. Now I can take new recipes. Well, I only make soul food. Well, I just make French fries. Is it Italian food? Because that's what I specialize in. No, I can give me a recipe. Got it. I'm going to go ahead and make it. So because of my working memory and my life experience, I've changed what I make. Nola didn't like smoothies, and she couldn't figure out why. And I changed it from Greek yogurt to Cool Whip. Well, the Sprouts version of Cool Whip, and she was like, I like smoothies now. Who knew that one ingredient was the problem? She thought she didn't like brownies, but she kept eating fudge brownies instead of chocolate brownies. As soon as she had my brownies, she's like, oh my goodness, I like brownies now. So having those experiences changes you and helps you to grow. When you stay stuck in a rut, and I see this with my peers, the peers that I started in the military with, and the people that I went to college with, yep, They've been doing those things for 20, 30 years, and they are exactly where we were in our 20s when we finished college and when we were in the Army. They have not changed. Have we all aged some physically? Yes. But who they are, I got a friend, well, not a friend anymore, but her and her husband they were married when I met them, and his birthday is in October. And I guarantee you, they are still, I haven't checked on them in a long time, but on his birthday, they go to the Korean restaurant because he likes Korean food from way back in 1996 and 97. We were stationed in Korea. That is their tradition. They are stuck in a rut. So don't brag about doing something for 20 or 30 years, 40 years, 10 years, and that shit is exactly the same. It is. And for people say, I've been in the music industry for all this. If you've been in the music industry for 20 or 30 years, you need to have albums in foreign languages. You need to be at some point the person who, because they said one thing about Prince, you could put Prince in the studio and he would come out with a whole album, the whole thing. He could run the board, do the sound, do everything. Some other people, they needed a producer and all of that. Prince coming out with an album. So if you say, I've been in the music industry for 20 years and you still can't run the board, you still can't make your own beats, you're not rapping in another language, you're not changing what you're doing, the whole thing, anybody that says I've been in the music industry for Quincy Jones, rest in peace, could do it all, could do all of it. So if you're doing something every single day for 20 years, let me run the math on that. I know it in my head, but I want to make sure because of perimenopause that I'm correct. So somebody has been doing something for 7,300 days. 7,300 days. That shit better be different. It better be extremely different. And that's what the risk taking is about. Because if you're not going to take a risk, so what? I got 93, 98 songs that I use loops for in BandLab because I come from a musical family, just taking a risk to see if I could get it done. I'm about to hit 11,000 YouTube videos somewhere between now and I think Monday or Tuesday. And I got a business and a leadership background. But I got 11,000 doggone YouTube videos because of taking risk. So start small, do it daily, increase it before you get comfortable with it. And then number 4, never stop taking risk. I became Dr. Donna Thomas-Rodgers in August of 2008. We are in March of 2025. 2025. I could have stopped and just went in the room and said, hey there, ladies and gentlemen, it's me, Dr. Donna. How you doing today? I'm a leadership expert, and let me tell you all about the time. I could still be just talking about my stories in the Army and the risk that I took then. And I'm telling y'all about risk in my daughter's business while I didn't have no background in. And now I understand it better. Can I do what she does? No, because that's not my natural talent. But I have learned a lot in these 2,100 appointments in the last 4 years going live. Just because you are a public speaker does not mean that you can sit down and go live, because the one thing about being a public speaker is you got an audience. You actually, right now, I'm looking at me. Y'all think I'm talking to y'all, and it feels like I'm talking to you, but I'm looking at myself. And that's one thing that Chris Rock said, was he said he did not like, the reason why he didn't like doing movies initially was because as a comedian, you can hear the laugh immediately. But if you're in a movie, you got to wait 6 months, 6 to 8 months for the laugh. So you don't even know if it's funny or not. And switching from being a public speaker to actually speaking to myself for an hour every day is a risk that I keep taking. I am today, right now, day 496 of going live. 496 consecutive days of going live with nobody else's content. Because you can go live and talk shit about other people. You can go live if you got new products. If you're selling this and this is the new Sally Hansen's and this clears it. You can go live if you got a new calculator, if you got a physical product. If you're talking about something that's already here, it's simpler to go live. And I mean, think about this book was written in 2008, published in 2009. And I am using that and not even spinning it, but expounding on the 74 principles of real leadership to the point where now I done came out as a nerd and I got a brain t-shirt on because of constantly taking risk. And that is the problem. And I am a senior citizen now, according to AARP. So that's the problem with us old folks, is we are no longer, I ain't got to do that no more. I already did that. I stirred my time. I already did that. Your brain is not happy about that decision. Your brain is not happy about you decided, I'm not taking no more risk. I don't have to learn anything else. Neurologically, you are going to be inept. And that's why by the time you get 65 and now your dementia is knocking at your door, now you're trying to find a Sudoku puzzle and some word searches and I'm gonna go paint, I'm gonna get up and move around and listen to some music. You wasted 30 fucking years saying I've been doing this for 30 years. That ain't nothing to be proud of. That is nothing to be proud of. Your life, and Regina is reading the book, The 100 Years Life, your life needs to be about experiences and having different stages. You can have multiple careers. The whole notion of education, work, and retirement is gone. You don't have to do that anymore. If you are in your 50s and you want to decide to go back to school and get a bachelor's degree in art history because you've always had an appreciation for art, go. Why can't you? Why not? If you want to go back to school and be an elementary school teacher, there's a gentleman right now on TikTok. He's 52 or 54. He is in med school. My great aunt went back to get her master's degree at 75 years old, and she was born in the 1920s. Rest in peace. So taking risks is part of life because the fears are still going to happen. The unaccountable people are still going to find a reason to wake up every day and make you be afraid of something. And that's why you have to keep taking risks. That's why you need to keep taking risks. So number one, start small. This is how to take a risk. Start small, do it daily, take more risks before you get comfortable. So take a new risk and then keep taking risks until the day after you're no longer here. If you're no longer here, you ain't got to take no more risk. Yay, AARP is wrong. I know, and I'm just telling you that's what they said. I know I don't think I'm old at all, not in the least, but I couldn't get out here with my daughter every day. They're the ones who said it. And what one thing is true though, with this, Regina, is all of the biological things that are happening because you're 50. So now they moved getting the colonoscopy back to 45 because it was at 50. The body just starts deteriorating. And so now you have to be more aware of what's happening on the inside. So it's more about, hey, you've been here 5 decades. Let's start looking at some things so that you can stay here longer. So I think for me, it was just like, make sure. So everything you do in your 50s is going to impact your 60s and so on and so forth. So it's not, they're saying, it's just like when you turn 21. Oh, you can drink now. When you turn 25. Okay, now you can get your car insurance goes down. So you got to start getting a mammogram at 35. So it's just a benchmark to tell you, hey, go get a checkup. Basically, that's it. I know, because you're 72 and you out here doing things. They said it, not me. Yes, so it's the biological things that are taking place. Because, people get old, won't go to the doctor, be 70, got high blood pressure, the gout, and everything else. Because they were just like, yeah, I didn't feel that bad. It's not that bad. So it's more about understanding this is a shift. And your body is going to start doing some things that it didn't do before. People have TikTok videos like, all I did was get up off the couch and then strain my back. So you really actually have to start paying attention and exercising and eating right and taking care of yourself because of the deterioration. So if you think about all the things that babies and children need for brain development and everything, that same thing just needs to stay throughout the course of your life. You should keep exercising and eating right and doing all of those things so that you can just be here as long as you can, physically mobile as much as you can. And then the natural process of not being here just happens, and that's what takes place. So yes, I hear you on that, but I'm just saying they had to pick an age, and 50 is the age that they picked, which makes sense. And some of the things going back to 45, I think that's better to get a colonoscopy. Mammograms went from 40 to 35. So those things, so early detection actually works in that capacity. So again, how to take risks. You start small, number one. Number two, do it daily. Number three, increase it before you get comfortable. So don't just keep wearing a cute outfit. It's time to up the ante. And then number five, never stop taking risks until you're no longer either cognitively aware of it or you're no longer physically here. So here are some recent examples of me taking risks. Number one, I've said I'm in my 11th year of a book challenge. And why is that important? Because I couldn't read books and comprehend them. I always did bad on standardized tests when it came to the reading comprehension. And nationally now, the reading comprehension level used to be 9th grade. Now it's 6th grade because of technology and everything else. So people are not comprehending at the same level because things are readily available to them. So that whole cognition of reading and understanding, short format for everything, you don't have to use that muscle anymore. And as a result, the comprehension is lower. I'm working with my daughter in her business. I just started using an electric screwdriver. So for 4 years, I was an old head using my DeWalt screwdriver with the little crank, the $15 screwdriver. And so finally, I was directed by her that I just need to stop doing this. And it's just going to be simpler. It took me a minute. Now I understand it. But I also didn't want to break things because some of this furniture is cheap. And so I'm strong. So I was like, man, but if I go too far, but now I know that if the red light comes on, stop. So that's a risk that I took, but I was risk averse to that. I was like, and then part of me is like, I'm not supposed to still be helping you. You're supposed to have somebody else, but that's not the universe's will right now. So it is what it is. That's number two. Number three is talking about the brain when my doctorate is an EDD and it's in organizational leadership. So when I came out as a nerd, there was some apprehension there, not coming out as a nerd, but to say, I'm not a neuroscientist. How am I going to sit here and start talking about the brain when that's not what my degrees are in? But I need to learn about the brain because this is a tool. So just like I had to start learning how to use that electric screwdriver, I got to learn how to use the brain because my research is trying to understand why can't people hold themselves personally accountable day in and day out consistently for 365 consecutive days? Because once you get a year under your belt, you're ready to go and you can keep doing it. It was perplexing me. It's like, why do people keep dropping off between day 80 and 90? What's happening? And my research in universe, God, and higher power has led me to its neurogenesis. You have to learn how to hold yourself personally accountable. And it recently occurred to me, because I always had a job or was always doing something that someone else was doing, I believed that there was someone else doing this. And it didn't occur to me until about maybe a week or two ago. No one else is doing this. No one else is telling you how to use your brain as it was designed and the 74 principles of real leadership to learn how to hold yourself personally accountable to become your best. All of the brain research is either telling you this is your brain, this is how it functions, or it's connected to some type of mental illness or some mental deterioration. But it's not. And it's like, oh, here's how you get dopamine. Go and reward yourself. Here's how you get serotonin. Stand out in the sunlight. So there are these very rudimentary things that they're telling everybody to do. And I'm saying, but how does that happen naturally? How can you do it without this manufactured thing? Listen to some music and you're going to get, and then the benefits of oxytocin versus dopamine versus endorphins. Oh, just go exercise and you're going to feel better. How you going to feel better if your insignificant other is cheating on you? Ain't enough fucking dopamine and endorphins in the world to create that hurt. You need a new neural pathway to wire your brain from being heartbroken to wiring your brain to the next chapter in your life. So how do you create neurogenesis? And then again, really saying that the 74 principles of real leadership is how you live adult life. That's another risk because it's there, but there are so many other people out here saying, do this, do that. So am I competing with them, or do I actually have doggone oxygen? Do I have penicillin? And now I know I do, because no other person walking the face of the planet Earth is saying, this is how you use this, and this is how you are best at day-to-day adult life. People could tell you how to set up an LLC, how to manage your money and everything else, but nobody is saying, this is how you get the best out of today. This is how you deal with these unaccountable people without all this damn journaling, but neurologically to make you strong enough to be your best. So these are risks that I am currently taking. Could have stopped at Dr. Donna, could have stopped at being a public speaker, could have stopped at being a business strategist, could have stayed around the urban chamber and kept making sure people had contracts, walked away from all of that and said, I got to do this solo dolo. Because I feel it instinctively. I'm watching House of David right now on Prime, and I just got through the first episode of it, and David is saying, it's bigger than this, it's bigger than this, it's bigger than, and I feel that instinctively, it's bigger than all of these things that I currently see. It's hunormic, it's galaxpheric, but it takes a risk. I got to take a risk every day, wake up, prepare a lesson, and talk to people as if I'm already talking to millions of people up here. I have to see it 2 levels up. And so I am presenting as if I am talking to that number of people. What does that look like? I have to be that person today. So when it shows up, I'm not sure, oh my God, it's 1 million people in my life. What am I going to do? And now my amygdala is hijacked and my frontal lobe has been cut off and now I don't know what to do. So I'm already preparing for that. That's a risk too, to visualize your goals before they're here, to meet my potential long before other people. We call this the early adoption phase because it is small and intimate, but it's going to be hunormic and galaxpheric. That's a risk that I'm willing to take every single day. And it's because I've done all the rest of that stuff. Sometimes people will suggest things to me and I'll say, I already did that. I did that already. I read Barbara Walters' book before she passed, and it was an older book, and she had it in there. She said, I did that already. So if you've already done that and people will suggest things, I did that. That was 2017. I did that in 2018. I did that in 2020. And for me, I didn't need to continue to do it for years for me to know. I did it. I mastered it. I acted. I did some commercials, everything. I was like, I did it. I'm good. Once I had enough information from each way that you can actually act, I was like, I'm good. That's why I said I did stand-up comedy in the 90s. I didn't need to keep doing it. I did it, mastered it, and moved on. Everything. I worked at Frito-Lay for almost 10 years. Raw materials to finished goods, done. All if you get promoted, it's still just gonna be chips on the truck. I'm good. Time to move on. Toastmasters, got my DTM, chartered 2 clubs, and said, okay, cool. This is just gonna be more of the same. I don't know how y'all stayed doing this for 20 something years, but I'm good. Adios, amigos. Here's a club. Go forth and be prosperous. So I've done so much. What else would I be doing with my life right now? Because I mastered it. And when you see your life in day, you get to things sooner because you're focused on it on the daily basis. When you're looking at annual things, then it's going to take you 10 years. It didn't take me 10 years to do those things because I focused on it every single day. So I'm at this point in my life because I did everything else already. Did it. Married. I didn't need to be married to the wrong man for 20 something years to realize I didn't want to be a wife and this was some bullshit. I'm good. And no disrespect to marriage. If you find the right person for you, go forth and be prosperous. I didn't have the right person. And the Bible says it's better to be single. Paul said that. But if you got to if you're going to go ahead and do what married people do, go ahead and be married. I'm just not cut from that cloth. So I don't like the job description of spouse, wife or spouse, but that's just me. I don't drink. I'm not telling people don't drink, but I'm saying if you come from a long line of alcoholics and druggies and drunks, that might not be something that you need to do. Don't take that risk. Okay, be sober. So the point that I'm making is don't just do something and just do that one thing and not add to it. So if you've been doing something for 20 years, there's a great book called What Got You Here Won't Get You There. So what happens, and you can chime in, anybody, if you want to, people that have been doing stuff for 20 years are always looking for fulfillment in other places. And so I had a person that had a State Farm insurance agency here, and he was always traveling because he said, well, this is what pays the bills, but this is what I really want to do. And he was always going to these remote locations out like Crocodile Dundee and doing all this stuff, forever traveling, but wouldn't just sell the doggone franchise, give the book back to State Farms and just go do that. He could have been a vlogger, but didn't do that. So you have these people with this thing that's automatic. It's on autopilot and it's there, but they're looking for more fulfillment because once you've mastered it, the brain is just like, we already know how to do that. It just stays in your working memory. It's time to do insurance stuff. Got it. How sexy is insurance? I don't care if it's car, rentals, homeowners, death, life, whatever. It's still just insurance. It's not really a sexy thing to do. We need it according to the government. So it's something that you can sell. And then that's it. So if you are sitting in your 20, 30, 50, 40, 5 years, and now you're like, oh, I just need some excitement. What do? You go get manufactured dopamine. I'm going to go on vacation. I'm going to go to a concert. We like going to do this. And that's why it's temporary. When you're challenging yourself by taking risks consistently, you ain't got time to be bored. You don't have time for concerts. And I'm not saying don't go to concerts because have fun is one of the 74 principles of real leadership. But your day is boring. And now you want other people to make it exciting for you, but you don't want to change and grow. You just want a little manufactured dopamine boost. And it's not working well for you neurologically. When you consistently take risks, if you've done something for 10 years, I was in the military. I know everything about the military. The client yesterday was asking me questions about it to quiz me to see if I was telling the truth or not. And I told Nola that was going to happen. And I had a pop quiz from that. And so I'm telling you, keep taking risk. Keep taking risk. Keep taking risk. Keep taking risk. If you find yourself being bored, don't go look for a dopamine boost. Go look for an oxytocin moment and take a risk. Go dig all that other shit and shame and everything, all that stuff you hiding. Dig all of that up. Dig all of that up and deal with your shit. Now that's all gone. And now create new neural pathways. And I guarantee you that's going to be much more rewarding with oxytocin and natural dopamine than this other stuff that's just temporary. Don't go shopping. Don't go do retail therapy. Somebody on Threads the other day was like, I'm depressed. And so what should I go buy? I said, nothing. They came back and said, well, what if I just put it in the cart? And I sent them a 60-second strategy on how to get out of a slump. Here's what you could do. You can watch this video. This is how you get out of a slump. Haven't heard back from the person, but what the fuck was retail therapy going to do if you're depressed? I gave her a new neural pathway. I gave her some new neurons. Here goes some neurogenesis for you. That's the gift that keeps on giving. Now you're not going to be in a slump no more. So every time you feel like you're in a slump, use what I said in that video. And it literally says, take a risk. Now you can't be depressed and taking a risk at the same time. It's impossible. The brain is like, well, which one you want me to do? And if you're in the frontal lobe is going to override that and say, we got to go take this risk. All right. So what questions do you have for me for taking a risk before we get into our cognitive learning for today? Again, the process is start small, do it daily, increase it before you get comfortable, and never stop taking risks. Never, ever, 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 never. And you take the risk and go, ooh, I don't know if I'm ready. You ready? That's how you know you're ready, because you don't think you are. Spoke to a 38-year-old on Thursday, has been teaching for 10 years and is bored and frustrated. I suggested she begin to think about changing field, maybe technology, and she was very resistant to the idea of change, because you spoke to a 38-year-old. And what happens at never, ever, ever 38. So you do realize, Regina, that 35, her working memory stopped working. So she 3 years in. She is 1,090 days in on that working memory deteriorating. Kevin, you're saying never ever to me. And so you as soon as you said that, her amygdala was like, change. And that's what, oh, no questions. And that's why embrace change is number 1 in the book. And she's a millennial. So millennials, the last thing millennials want to do is look bad or do something that makes them uncomfortable. So yeah, difficult to get them to change. Once they're set, they are set. And millennials are focused on making money and looking good. Those are their 2 things. And if it's gonna make them look bad, or it's gonna make them uncomfortable and they gotta learn something, it's not gonna happen. So all of that. So now you understand. So they're tech savvy to a certain point. But if you try to get them to get out of it, especially if it's something that doesn't have to do with tech, because they grew up with this, if you say, hey, go get an old phone, write a book or do something like that, comfort zone ain't happening. Spectrum is here taking me offline. Okay. Got it. All right. So without further ado, go ahead and go to the website Letters for Louise under social media. So you're going to turnarounddoctor.com. You're going to Letters from social media page, going to Letters from Louise, and you're going to read. Come on. You're going to read or. Going to read or. So let me know when you're there. My water bottle is leaning. Yeah, it's leaning. So ... after you finish reading it, so we know. So much. Ouch. Makes me think that life has many options. We can be more than just one thing. Yes, we can. And unaccountable people only want you to be one thing because that makes them comfortable. When you start doing different things, now they don't know what box to put you in. So I like messing with them. Shadow, but didn't you say you was? Uh-huh, I did. I mastered that. I'm on to the next one. I did that too. But I thought you said, well, when you just gonna do one thing? Never. I'm gonna do it February 37th, 2092. That's when I'm gonna do one thing. So when that day shows up on the calendar, that's when I will got it. That's when I will do my one thing. And that's how you end up bored if you just do one thing. I mean, Kevin, you were in a career for 15 years before you started doing real estate and rehabbing houses and all of that. Can you imagine if you were still in your corporate job right now, doing that one thing, going and getting up every day, putting your corporate attire on, your Pepsi pretty? You'd have a senior VP of such and such operations flow. One thing. And then you retire and you talk about all the time you spent at your corporate job. Yeah, I was a hustle. I was a senior vice president of operations and 30 direct reports and 1 billion sales. No, just go ahead and take me out. No way. And it's interesting to still see those people from Frito-Lay still there. And one person still has the same job from 2009. He has not been promoted. Same title and everything. 14, 15, about to be 16 years in the same job. People have layers. Don't be put on sides. You can have many facets to you. Yes, and that's why one of the principles of real leadership is embrace diversity. And the reason why I wrote this poem was because I'm sick of the either or. I am tired of which one are you? And it's there for gender bias, beauty bias, confirmation bias is there to put you in that category. So now I know you. I know you based upon some fake shit that was made up. You a color. So this means this. So many people have been so wrong about me trying to take this one picture and moment in time. And then they're just like, oh, I didn't know that. Well, I didn't know that. Exactly. So stop. Stop trying to use these things that are biological that you use to fill out medical paperwork just so that genetically there are some things that are what are you predisposed to based upon genetics and things like that. But other than that, you get to be this individual person. I don't even drive by my old job. I get depressed thinking about how I gave them so much of my life. Yeah. And I can't drive past my old job. It's in Birmingham. If I drive past my old job, I'm in the wrong state. I'm on the other side of the Mississippi. So I get it. And Kevin, just so you know, Nola will tell you, I don't know how many years it was before we started consuming Frito-Lay products. I mean, I think it was about 10 years. It might have been a little bit less. But I was like, I used to walk down the aisle and be like, fuck you, Frito-Lay. Literally flipping off Doritos. Ain't did nothing to me. I'm like, I see a truck driving and I'm like, yeah. So yeah, it definitely, I needed to have a fresh start on the West Coast because, yep. And there you have it. But I did learn a lot. And so I, just like in my marriage and everything else, I have to extrapolate the lessons from it. Because if not, yeah, my list would be much higher than 176 people that I could play catch with. But it is interesting. And then when you find out why you were actually born and the thing that you're doing. And for me, I wasn't helping anybody. And I mean, I was doing my best. I was training and doing everything I could. But at the end of the day, the mission was not to help people. It was to take raw materials, turn it into finished goods and sell in the marketplace. And some people loved it. And I think everybody has their calling. And that just wasn't my calling for me. So the point is that we get to be more than that. And it's amazing how the people with the corporate jobs like, oh, you doing that? You doing your little business? You doing, oh, so you teach, but why you ain't want to just keep your corporate job? Like, no, I actually didn't. I don't do Zoom calls. I don't have to have permission and then do an out of office response if I'm not at work that day. And I don't have to come back to 75,000 emails, and I have to, and if because I'm not here, call Sheila and she'll be able to direct you to that, and then leave instructions. Well, if it's really bad, go ahead and call me so I'll know what's happening before I come back. And then that coming the day after you get, the day before you come back from vacation, you looking and all of that, so you could buy some stuff and you could brag to your other family members that you better than them because you got a title and the job 6-7 figures. Y'all can have that. That's the biggest grift known to man. Talk about pimping 101. Yep. Okay. Roger that. So follow up on that. What did you do yesterday to eliminate distractions? What did you do yesterday to eliminate distractions? And another reason why I left too is because my mother worked for the government in the computer room, and somebody literally had a heart attack and died at work. And I remember that as a child. I was like, well, that's terrible. And they all went to the funeral, and the person replaced that person at their job, and that was the end of that. And they would just talk about how much they missed them, but the person literally had a heart attack in the computer room when they used to have big giant computer rooms that had to have, it was very cold when computers used to be big as hell. Huge, and they used to have to mount those tapes and stuff on. So what did you do to eliminate distractions? I purposely distracted myself yesterday. We had a break in between the first and second appointment, and I looked at TikTok because I wanted to test the Okay, Regina, what we're doing, if you want to go and read the poem for today was Letters of Louise, and it was or. You can do that after if you want to send me, and then send me your follow-up. So it is or for Letters from Louise. But we're doing the follow-up for Eliminate Distractions yesterday. So I purposely distracted myself yesterday because I talked about I had the orange and the chocolate to say manufactured dopamine versus natural dopamine. So or I purposely distracted myself for about an hour and 45 minutes. So I was scrolling through TikTok, looking at various different videos to see what would happen with my dopamine level. Now I knew that yes, ma'am. I knew that I had a second break in between the second and third appointment to get everything else done. So I did make the rest of my content and all of that because we had a 6:30 appointment. I knew it was going to be late by the time we got home. So I needed to be able to have that. And so it was interesting because it was this very, and then when it was time for me to post, I literally was calmer. And so I actually am correct that it was dopamine, manufacture. I had all this, And then as I was just posting my own content, there was this natural release. And so I had just had oranges. So I distracted myself on purpose, knowing that in that between that second and third appointment that I was still going to get my Duolingo and everything else completed at that time because we had to leave. So I have. No, it's milk chocolate. I actually can't, believe it or not, because my tolerance level is so low. I can't even take a leave. If I take a leave, I will start hallucinating. So I got a really, really, really low tolerance level. Dark chocolate actually makes me drunk. I cannot eat dark chocolate. It gives me literally so it has to be milk chocolate. So I did when I did the Candida diet many years ago when I had to clear out my system. When I used to go to Dr. Thompson and literally ate dark chocolate and would literally be hungover damn near after eating a piece of dark chocolate. So it is milk chocolate. But thank you for that. So I did do a healthy distraction for myself, my own experiment to see how I felt. I knew I was going to have an appointment that was going to cause me to be productive. So that was going to have to push that manufacturing dopamine away. went back to my normal, what I normally do. And that natural dopamine is just better because there is a sense of accomplishment. Because for an hour, I think it was an hour and 45 minutes, hour and a half, something like that, I finished watching all that and I hadn't accomplished shit. I hadn't learned shit or anything. And now, between the second and third appointment, I'm posting on social media. I did my Duolingo lessons and all of that. And there was this reward, this actual reward. So I've continued my Duolingo streak. I contributed to all my social media platforms. And I ensured that I had done my daily posting for the day. That's why you want to switch to a natural dopamine instead of this manufactured, because you're not really getting anything from it. You don't have nothing to show for it at all. Let me make that a thing. So what did you do to eliminate your distractions? Oh, no, it said I held myself accountable to my work. So if there was work to be done, I prioritized it before taking a break. You did do that the whole day. And that's why it was a peaceful existence. And I told you that too. Yesterday, I was spent reviewing my weekly notes from the lives, took myself out of my routine of daily business. Got it. Yes. And so did you all notice, now that I've demonstrated that, now pay attention. I don't know if you actually notice the difference between, if you're starting to notice manufacturing dopamine versus natural dopamine, go ahead and put it in the comments and let me know if yesterday was your first exposure to that. Start paying attention to that and then let me know, because again, y'all know I'm always updating the research to see if you can actually distinguish the difference as well. And then Regina said, ignore my friend who was a distraction. I was attempting to help my brother complete documents. His memory is shot, and she made faces and squirmed while I tried to help him. Wow. Well, that was good, because I know you are getting his paperwork and everything together. So good. So you were able to complete the task. That's awesome. So the manufactured dopamine is no bueno. The natural dopamine happens when you actually are challenging yourself, staying in the frontal lobe, eliminating distractions and growing forward. There will be this natural peace and reward, the actual real reward instead of fake reward. So think of it this way too. And I have a blog that I wrote about liposuction. So people who naturally lose the weight healthily, 1 to 2 pounds a week, and they're exercising, so the muscles and everything will tone up. The success rate and the maintenance of staying at that size is better. But people who go get liposuction end up being bigger because they can just go get some more liposuction. So that's another example. Dopamine is quick. I don't have to do any work. I got it. Look, I look like this. And if it don't work out, I can do it again. But when you actually have to lose the weight, you put it on naturally, you take it down naturally, you're actually changing because of the focus. You got to change your diet. You have to exercise. You're going to get way more new neural pathways by getting it naturally. If all you have to do is get on your phone and scroll, gossip and all of that, those neural pathways are already wired. That's not nothing new. You're just going to do what you normally do to get that boost that you normally get. And you're going to be extremely unfulfilled and not know why. So throw that 20, 30 years of doing that same shit, getting dopamine your same way, and then you complaining and saying life is so unrewarding and I this and this and complaining and all of that. You got to, just like you talk to the millennial, the young lady, Regina, people want to get out of it. They want something to be different, but they don't want to do something different. Somehow they just expect it to just happen. Neurogenesis doesn't happen. You have to do it yourself. Definitely. I have a Dr. Donna quote that says, less talk, more action. So stop talking so damn much and do much more. And much is the PA for today. Okay. The real leader principle for today is to take risks. So remember, start small, take risks every single day. If your heart goes, that's the risk that you actually need to be taking. If the midget look like, hold up, wait a minute. Nothing risky, but risk. Go dig up all that shame, hurt, pain, and all that is a risk. Go give everybody their problems back. That's a risk. And then also do calculated risk that literally help you learn and grow so that you can improve. The manufactured dopamine example you gave was eye awakening. You got me looking at labels for added sugar. I never pay attention to that. I tell you what, I think I told y'all about that 20-ounce Sprite that Nola got from 7-Eleven. That thing had like 68 grams of sugar in it for a 20. I said, what? You're only supposed to consume, I think for women, it's like 40 grams of sugar for the whole day. And that thing had doggone 68 grams of sugar in a 20-ounce bottle of doggone Sprite. There ain't no caffeine in it, but you damn sure gonna get addicted to that doggone sugar. Yep. So if you start going where they have the least amount of added sugar is anything that you're getting from Sprouts and Whole Foods, but store brand. So remember back in the day, I know Regina, Kevin, and I all can remember this. Back in the day, store brand was bad. It's like, ooh, you got the store brand. But the store brand actually, because Nola eats store brand cold cereal, it all has less sugar in it. All of the store brand cereal literally has less sugar. So if you get the Sprouts, the Kroger brand version of Cheerios or whatever, it has less sugar than the actual Cheerios. So before it was like, ooh, y'all can't afford real groceries. But no, all of that stuff is manufactured and they put it in everything. So it might say 15 grams of sugar, flip it over, and 11 of them is added sugar. Put that back. So we have these, and I told you, Regina, about these Aloha bars that have the least amount of sugar in it. And all those protein bars with the chocolate and all of that on there, you flip that bad boy over, you'd be 20, 30 doggone grams of added sugar and added salt too. So definitely look at the added salt that's on things. Okay. So, and yes, and honey and agave too. And then again, I stopped using all of it and just really just said whatever is the natural sweetener in the food is going to be the natural sweetener in the food. Because I was a sugarholic. I just consuming all of it. But because if I don't have any, I'm going to look like a skeleton. So I have to add in it. And here's my little piece of chocolate for today. So, yeah, that part. The other thing we do have is we do get these graham crackers from Sprouts. And they're about 3 grams too. So you really just have to pay attention to it more because you're not. And so you eating the wrong shit and everything else. And then remember, it's deteriorating your brain because if the brain doesn't have the right things that it needs, that's going to be a problem as well. And I used to have agave when I was doing the Candida diet. I was ghetto fabulous. I took my agave everywhere, put it in the plastic bag. We go have breakfast. I'm like, no, I don't need syrup. I'm gonna use this agave. Pour it, take it to the cafe. Everywhere. I got some because back then they didn't have agave everywhere. So I had it in my purse. I didn't have no hot sauce in my bag. I had my agave in my bag for a while. Okay. The principle for today is to take risks. So start taking risks and remember you can stop taking risks the day after you're no longer here or that you're consciously aware that you're here. That's when you stop taking risk. So if you go, I don't want to do that, go ahead and do it because you will be rewarded dopaminally for having done that. And then the final question for today as we close is, what did you learn? What did you learn? And the other thing, Regina, as you're writing things down too, is this, that because your brain is changing and other people's isn't, when you start talking to them, for you it seems simple, but they're living in a fixed mindset with an atrophied working memory in a comfort zone. So what you said to them by you telling that young lady to go and what she heard was, go run in a burning building and help people. Go jump off of a skyscraper with no parachute. Quit your job and start over. So she heard you taking her comfort away bit by bit. And she's like, oh no, I'm not leaving my comfort zone. I was just complaining. I wouldn't. No, I was just trying to, maybe I should change schools. Or so I was thinking like I'm going to teach 2 subjects. That's what's going to happen. I thought, well, I'm teaching English. I was thinking I was going to do art because I got a minor. I minored in art when I was in school. That's called a calculated risk. And I know I said calculate the risk that you're about to take, but calculated risk is, so normally when I get my salad, I use blue cheese, but today I'm gonna get the same salad and I'm gonna do Italian dressing. That's what they and I normally I get a small salad. Today I'm gonna get a medium and I'm gonna use Italian dressing, and then I'm gonna skip dinner. And instead of having a Pepsi, I'm gonna do a diet Pepsi. So that's the kind of risk that they're trying to take. If they get a grande, they're gonna get a short for the coffee. They go to Starbucks. Kevin said, learn people doing things for 20 years, look for fulfillment in other areas. Yeah, because the brain stopped. The brain knew how to do it. Doing that job for 20 years is like you making up your bed, riding a bike and driving. The brain already know how to do that. It ain't doing nothing. And then Regina, we had dialogue and offer suggestions, Ray, long-term gradual planning for change. Okay, cool. Got it. And adding that they need to become personally accountable too. As I tell people, risk taking is good. Yes. I tell people nothing that I'm telling you to do is going to work if you keep your brain where it is. If you stay unaccountable, it's not going to last. As soon as an unaccountable act shows up, it's going to override everything that I'm saying. Because I used to think that people didn't have to be in a 30-day challenge. They didn't have to read my book and all of that because I thought other people were doing other things. And I'm like, you're not personally accountable because I didn't teach you how to be personally accountable. And that's a bold ass statement to make with 6.8 billion people in the world. But it's true. I've come across too many people in my lifetime. I'm like, nope, I'm right. I didn't teach you how to be personally accountable, so you're not. At some point, your Chris Emery, your 70% is going to show up, and you're going to do something that's unaccountable, and somebody's going to be recovering from your unaccountability. So that's true. Okay, keep me posted, Regina. We'll see how this works, because I have been trying to get millennials to change. So if you are successful, you are an educator, so you can speak educator to her. I would be interested to see how that goes. Yes, did a job for more than 20 years and was bored and not growing. Exactly. And so you have to keep challenging yourself in other areas, because once you've mastered it, and all it's going to do is improve what you already mastered. That's all it's going to be able to do. Doing these lives every day has just made me a more effective communicator. I have the ability to screencast and bring people in, especially live on TikTok, and I won't do it because I'm challenging myself to see if I can be effective looking at myself, only seeing your profile photo, and no other voice is being heard right now. So that's a huge thing. Even as an educator, you know that, Virginia, you need to be able to look at the students and they're confused and doing all this. So I just have to feel the energy and say, okay, you might not, let me see if you can understand this. And now I'm talking about the brain, this very complicated thing. And how do I bring it down to the smallest common denominator for you to be able to get it so you can apply it? So it literally is challenging myself. In person, I'm great. I can do stuff blindfolded when it comes to instructing and all of that. But this is a bigger challenge for me, looking at a profile photo and some words. And it also has character limits, because if we were in person, yes. And so think about that. I don't see y'all, but I make y'all feel like I'm looking at y'all and I'm talking to y'all. But I see y'all and my wall and my 5th grade photo and my bed. I see my bedroom if I look this way, and my dresser. So it has been interesting to challenge myself to be able to convey this message to you as if and none of us are in the same, Nola and I are in the same location, but we're not in the same part of the house. So that has definitely been a challenge. Definitely. A challenge that I'm up for. And that's why everything is email, because if you can see somebody and they can see you, it's easier for them to get the message. But I can't see y'all. You send things in. I made these videos. You listen to them when you listen to them where you are. And then you come back and tell me what your takeaways, reflections are, learnings, and all of that. That's a challenge for me. And that's why when y'all told me y'all morning routine, because people have been telling me I do a lot in the morning, and I didn't really think it was a lot. And then when you all said what you did in the morning, and I was like, okay, maybe it is a lot. I know. I agree with that. You actually look like you're facing us and making direct contact. And it is, if you saw it on my side, I literally got a scroll bar here, the comments, and then I have a live time up at the top. It tells me how many people are on the live, and then the background. So that's why I'm always fixing my hair. It's not that I'm nervous, because they say when people are fixing their hair, they're nervous. It's like I'm looking in the mirror. So if you're looking in the mirror and your hair is out of place, you're going to naturally fix your hair. Now, when I don't have my wig on, I'm not doing it because there ain't no hair there. But I'm saying I'm doing this because that's what you do. And then you walk away and you look like you look for the rest of the day. You should have more than one career throughout your life. I agree with that, Nola. Yes, more than one career. And so what's happening with Nola is everything is easy for her. And things that we say this all the time, things that would have took us out 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and really more her to me because she'd still be taking me out. And that's why she's transitioning to start to work with other contractors and things like that, because when you get to your 5th year, you have basically done everything, and now it's time to start paying it forward, mentoring, teaching other people. Otherwise, it's going to get really, really boring, because sometimes we're like, like this morning, we got a mom bed and 2 drawers. It's like, that's an hour 15 minutes. It's going to take us longer to get to the appointment and back than to do that bad boy. And so it's not rewarding anymore. Now, that IKEA mom bed 4 years ago took her 2.5 hours to do, and it was challenging, and we don't even use the manual. People will come in there and be like, y'all not even using manual. You know how many of these we didn't put together? This ain't absolutely nothing. We might look at it if the hardware changed to see where the new placement of the hardware is, but not at all. Nola, okay. She's saying she wouldn't say easy because the appointments are harder. As soon as we go back to something that used to be difficult for her, she don't even use the manual. The other day, I forgot what we was putting together, and I said, are you finished with the manual? Because I clean up. I got OCD. I clean up too quick. So she had to stop me and say, don't throw this away yet. So the other day she was putting something together. I forgot what it was. I think it was at the appointment where the guy had the pool table in the room or not. And I said, are you still using the manual? And she said, I don't remember the last time I picked the manual up. So no, you're not using the manual. I will throw it away. So that happens often, because even though it might be different furniture companies, they all pretty much bite off each other. And so how you put it together is almost virtually the same. Growth mindset is important. Absolutely. And when you challenge yourself and take the risk, it's going to become natural, and you're going to be able to do more. You actually are going to be able to do more. So thank you so much today. Again, take risk, take risk, take risk, take some more risk, and then take some more risk, and put that on your daily to-do list. Did I take a risk today? And it could be simple, something as simple as instead of doing 1 Duolingo lesson, you do 3. So it doesn't have to be this main event that you're doing a press release for, just something different. If you polish your nails, just have clear nails. Just take all the polish off and see what happens. That's all I'm saying. If you normally go jogging in the morning, go jogging in the afternoon. Just switch it up. Take a risk. If you are an introvert and you have a pet, go to the dog park and start talking to the people at the dog park. Something to get new neural pathways going for you, so that becomes your new thing. And if all else fails, just remember me. And there is a risk challenge that if you stick around long enough, it's a video challenge. That's the hardest video challenge. Most people drop out. That's why I just push it down. I'm like, you're going to need some more personal accountability to do this risk challenge, because that used to be the first thing you had to do on RL 365, and crickets. People couldn't get past that. So I moved some stuff around because I want you to succeed. But that turnaround risk challenge is definitely going to take you completely out of your comfort zone for real, for real. We'll get to that later. Okay, and Regina, I did respond to your email, your 28-day email as well. I don't know if you responded to me because I can't see. They don't let me get email notifications when I'm in YouTube. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. You don't know how grateful I am for your participation, because it helps me improve the research on a day-to-day basis so that we can all continue to grow and help other people. Stepped away again, respectrum. Okay, got it. So I literally said I responded to your 28-day email. You said you wanted my perspective, so I responded. If you already responded to me, I can't see it. What do you do again? You're going to take a risk. Take a risk today. That's your real leader principle. And then I followed up from your 28-day yesterday email. If you already responded, I can't see it because YouTube won't let me see emails while I'm in live. So take your risk, take your risk, take your risk. Again, thank you so much for participating and doing what you do, because it helps me improve what I do so I can keep making it better for you, and y'all can keep making it better for yourself and everybody else where you are. Because one day we're going to all wake up, God, higher power, and the universe willing, to accountable communities, personally accountable communities that are going to lead to everybody's best. Because, I mean, think about how you feel on this live. Now imagine going everywhere you go, and now it feels this wonderful oxytocin with this natural dopamine and all of the hormones and the actual neurotransmitters being used, and you being able to be your best. Okay. All right. You all go off and have a great rest of your day. I will be back tomorrow, same time, same place, same face, different t-shirt. Have a sensational Saturday. Bye-bye.